You sit in the quiet, but the silence feels heavy, like a weight pressing down on your chest, refusing to lift. You've done everything right. You've learned to protect your energy, to draw boundaries, to stay true to yourself. Yet, somehow, it still feels like you're losing yourself in the shadows of others. Narcissists orbit your life, their voices echoing in your mind long after they've gone. You feel drained, invisible even, as if your own essence is slipping away unnoticed. There's this strange contradiction: your empathy, once a gift, now feels like a vulnerability you can't escape. You wonder if all your efforts to shield yourself are just illusions, cracks in a fragile armor, and beneath it all a whisper: is this what safety really looks like? Or is something else hiding behind the silence, waiting to be uncovered? For so long you chased approval, validation, success, each goal a fleeting mirror of what society told you mattered. You built your identity on surface-level victories, on the illusion that if you just tried harder, you'd finally feel whole. But now something has shifted. The edges of that story are fraying. The familiar maps you relied on no longer lead you anywhere meaningful. Instead, there's a hollow space, a strange silence that feels like loss, confusion, numbness. It's as if the old version of you is dissolving piece by piece. And maybe that's exactly what's happening. Maybe what you're experiencing is a kind of death, a necessary death. Carl Jung saw this as the moment when the conscious ego begins to crumble, making room for something deeper to emerge. The false self, built on societal expectations and ego-driven pursuits, can't survive the truth that's quietly rising from beneath. What feels like paralysis is actually a liminal space, a threshold where the old identity must die for something genuine to be born. You're not malfunctioning, you're being emptied, stripped of the superficial layers that no longer serve the real you. This disorienting silence, the numbness, isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign of transformation, a space where nothing is solid and everything is possible. What if this silence you feel isn't a void, but a sacred space? Carl Jung whispered that in the stillness, the psyche begins its quiet dialogue with itself, peeling away layers of illusion to reveal what's truly beneath. When the masks fall away and the noise dissolves, what remains is not emptiness, but an invitation, an opening into the unknown. Think of the cocoon, dark and silent, where transformation is taking place. The caterpillar's death is not an end, it's the birth pangs of something greater. In this pause, the ego's illusion of control relaxes, and a deeper current awakens, the self, ancient and wise, waiting patiently beneath the surface. This process isn't about fixing or rushing toward clarity. It's about honoring the quiet before the dawn, the moment when the old self dissolves like ash, making way for rebirth. The storm inside you, as fierce as it feels, is the necessary funeral of the false self. And in that ending, a new beginning quietly stirs. Remember, you are not lost, you are crossing a threshold. The darkness isn't an enemy, it's the sacred dark of the alchemist. Where lead transforms into gold, this pain might not be the end, it might be the door to the awakening you've been waiting for, a silent, profound rebirth into your true self. There's a quiet, heavy weight pressing down, an invisible burden that lingers beneath your awareness. Why does it feel so difficult to find clarity? Why does the silence seem to carry this unspoken ache? This is the work of the shadow, as Carl Jung described, the part of yourself you've pushed into darkness, hiding truths, feelings, or fears you couldn't bear to face. It's the hidden landscape of your psyche, where unresolved wounds and repressed traits reside. Perhaps you buried your fire long ago, thinking survival meant suppressing your authentic self. But now that flame is dimming, and the numbness isn't absence, it's a fortress built around too much emotion, too much longing, locked behind a wall you've erected to protect yourself. This shadow is not your enemy, It's the unacknowledged part of you that whispers beneath the surface, trying to be seen. It's the ghost of your true self, hidden behind layers of expectation and fear. And in this silence, it's trying to find its way back through cracks in your carefully managed life, through the quiet ache that refuses to fade. This isn't just fog, it's memory's silent, waiting, yearning to be recognized, and perhaps, just perhaps, in this recognition, the next step will reveal itself. The ego clings to the familiar rules of survival, success, and identity, desperately holding onto the comfort of what's known. Meanwhile, your emerging self whispers new truths, faint yet undeniable, stirring a restless tension. It's as if two voices are speaking inside you, one rooted in security, the other in awakening. You want to move forward, to embrace this new truth, but something pulls you back, as if an invisible force resists your growth. Your body feels here present, yet your soul seems to drift elsewhere, longing for authenticity amid the chaos. Stillness brings anxiety, and silence feels heavy with unspoken questions. This inner split isn't chaos, it's a sacred rupture, a necessary part of transformation. Jung saw this as the crisis before integration, a tension between persona and self, a battleground for authenticity. Nietzsche would call it the clash between the Apollonian order and the Dionysian chaos, the dance of facing the abyss. Gabor Mate reminds us this struggle often stems from trauma, where the true self is buried beneath layers of adaptation. You may feel exhausted, caught between doubt and shame, grieving the parts of yourself slipping away. But know this, you are not broken. You are mid-creation, breaking free from an inner shell, and though painful, this split is the doorway to your truest self. The path ahead is one of sacred reconstruction. Healing doesn't mean erasing the past, it's about reintegrating it, like a garden rewilding itself, turning chaos into fertile soil for growth. In Jungian terms, this is the sacred alchemy of bringing the unconscious into conscious awareness. It's the soul's way of turning pain into presence, shadows into guiding lights. As Gabor Mate suggests, beneath the layers of adaptation, your true self is waiting to emerge, unmasked and whole. Nietzsche reminds us that embracing our full human nature, light and shadow, is the path to true power. So, these symptoms, confusion, emptiness, guilt, are not signs of failure but signals of transformation. Confusion is the mind reordering itself. Emptiness is the empty canvas where truth will someday grow. You are not lost, you are composting old selves into fertile soil for your authentic self to flourish. This is psychological alchemy, pain transforming into presence, chaos becoming the blueprint for your deepest being. Trust the process. It is sacred, slow, and ultimately healing. The life you once chased no longer feels right. That's not a failure, but an invitation to redefine. This process is a creative act. Instead of reconstructing a fixed ego-based identity rooted in roles, achievements, and approval, you're shaping a fluid, authentic self aligned with your soul. Think of it as designing a home, not a costume for a persona, but a space where your essence can breathe. Instead of wearing masks, you learn to become transparent, allowing your true presence to shine through. What once fueled you now may no longer resonate, replaced by what genuinely feels true and nourishing. Inspired by Jung's journey of individuation, Gabor Mate's return to authenticity, and Nietzsche's call for self-creation. This is about forging yourself anew, overcoming old limitations to live from a place of resonance. Perhaps you start saying no to relationships that demand performance, leaving work that contradicts your values, or exploring new hobbies simply because they spark joy. Remember, this isn't about instant clarity, it's about conscious, messy, beautiful creation. You're revealing yourself, ready to reconnect with the world with fresh eyes and a renewed heart. You're not returning to the old chaos. You're carrying something sacred into it. Reconnection is not about rushing back into life's noise, but about stepping forward with clarity and presence. This is the moment where your outer world becomes an extension of your inner truth. Engaging from the self means moving slower, more deliberate yet deeper. It's speaking your truth even if your voice trembles, creating without permission, walking away from roles that no longer reflect your essence. You find peace in simplicity, no longer hungry for applause or approval. Instead, you respond to life with quiet power, asking, "What wants to move through me?" Imagine relationships where your authenticity attracts those who resonate with your truth, and where you no longer need to persuade or perform. In work or creativity, you paint freely, not seeking validation, but expressing what is alive within. In service, you show up fully, not from obligation, but from a place of genuine presence. This shift echoes Jung's idea of the self engaging with the collective, becoming a light bearer, sharing wisdom without force. It makes authenticity as the foundation of true connection, and Nietzsche's call to create life as a canvas of self-expression. Your life becomes a sacred act, a living testament to your inner truth. And as you do, remember, your truth is medicine meant to be shared, to spark healing and transformation in others. As you emerge into this new realm of awareness, subtle signals begin to whisper, dreams shimmering with meaning, numbers recurring like silent messages, a gentle gut feeling nudging you toward unseen truths. This is the language of the symbolic life, as Carl Jung described, a way of perceiving that moves beyond the literal and superficial. It's a deep intelligence, not superstition, but a sacred conversation with the soul. When you begin to see life through archetypes and synchronicities, you realize the world isn't just a collection of external events, it's a canvas alive with meaning. Inviting you to listen beneath the surface, dreams may reveal emotional truths you've long ignored. Recurring symbols act as mirror points of internal shifts, and intuitive nudges guide you toward your authentic path. Art, nature, even random encounters become expressive language, speaking softly to your essence, if only you're willing to still yourself enough to hear. This perception demands trust, patience, and a willingness to not know with the mind but feel with the heart. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. The symbolic life is not passive, it's participatory and ongoing dialogue with life's deeper currents. It's where the unconscious becomes a creative partner, shaping your journey toward individuation, trauma healing, and purpose. Life ceases to be a problem to solve and becomes a poetic act, of sacred language waiting for your response, your co-creation, your true expression. This awakening isn't just about shedding old layers, it's about discovering the sacred core of your being and embracing it wholeheartedly. Now, your authentic truth is ready to be shared, not as a performance for approval, but as a genuine presence rooted in integrity and love. True contribution arises when you show up imperfectly, allowing your unique voice and gifts to flow freely into the world. Whether through creative expression that reflects your inner essence, healing and empowering others with your lived experience, or simply holding space with kindness and authenticity, each act becomes a sacred act of service. As Jung's philosophy of individuation teaches us, when we align with our wholeness, we naturally become bridges between our inner world and the collective, fostering healing, connection, and transformation. Gabor Mate reminds us that authenticity and compassionate presence are the most powerful tools for collective healing, while Nietzsche calls us to see life itself as a continuous act of becoming. Release fears of judgment or rejection. Trust that your story, your lessons, and your gifts are vital now more than ever. Your life is a work of art, a living legacy crafted through everyday acts infused with presence and purpose. This isn't the finish line, it's the beginning of a new chapter. Keep growing, expressing, and serving from the fullness of your awakened self. knowing that your authentic contribution creates ripples of transformation that extend beyond yourself.